You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javanokelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for another amazing session of the Daily African Proverbs. My name is Simon Javanokelo, and I am truly excited to be here with you for an amazing session of the Daily African Proverbs. It's Friday, and I am truly privileged to be here with, a wonderful leader that I look up to. Elaine C Walker is, an amazing transformation mentor, an impact investor, and just a leader that I've been watching from afar. And today it's really an honor that, Elaine, you've made the time for us to connect for this recording of the African Father in America podcast, and also for us to dive deep into this Nigerian proverb that talks about strategy, which I feel that is an area that you work on almost on a day-to-day basis. So I would love for you to just quickly say hello, introduce yourself, and then we'll dive deep into this proverb.
Wow, thank you so much, Simon, for having me on here. It's a complete honor to be part of your platform and everybody that I'm speaking to. So I'm Elaine Cunningham Walker, or Elaine C Walker, and I am MD for the GMA group. GMA stands for Good Morning Africa, and I'm all about making sure that Africa rises to be the superpower that it once was developed to be, and some way along the line has lost its way. So through education and transformation and impact, that is what we are looking to do as a group. And we have lots of different interests, which I'm sure we'll talk about today. Thank you so much, Simon.
Wonderful. You're most welcome. To everyone who is just joining us for the first time for the Daily African Proverbs, this is a space that we've been cultivating since January last year. And Elaine has actually indirectly supported the growth of the Daily African Proverbs over the last year. So thank you again. This is kind of your baby. And, I really appreciate all the work that you do for Africa and for African people in the diaspora. And, our culture cannot be complete without African proverbs. And that's why every day we gather here for the Daily African Proverbs. We pick an African proverb that is relevant to what's going on, and we dissect it and learn and gain African wisdom from it. So today we are taking a virtual journey to Nigeria, and the proverb says, strategy is better than strength. Just take a moment and share with us what comes to your mind when you hear this proverb.
My goodness, that proverb is the epitome of what I stand for. And initially, when I started my journey, I started as an educational strategist. And I tell every parent that the strength that they're expecting, which could be the academic nuances of their child, is not just the only you need to get into the right educational institution. It is also about strategy. And so that strategy could be so many different things. It could be looking at some of your children's gifts that they have naturally. It could be sporting, music, drama, performing arts, whatever it is. And that adds to packaging your child. So, what makes your child different? And I think it's the same for everything that we do in life. For example, you could want to lose weight, but it's the strategy that you implement that helps you be successful in the weight loss journey. So a lot of people say to me, I've gone from a size 20 to size 10. That's 5 dress sizes down. I want to be like you. Like, what did you do? Well, I had to start in my mind first and had to think about the systems and the strategies that I would use on a daily basis to become the woman that I want to become. And so even though I might be strong, strong people go, you're strong-willed, but no, I'm not strong-willed. I've used a strategy. For example, I'll still go to the same restaurants, but before I go to the restaurant, I'll look at the menu, strategy. I'll look at what I can order, strategy. And so I don't get to the restaurant and then I'm overwhelmed by the choice, because then I've I might have been strong getting into the restaurant, but I haven't been able to follow through. But I follow through by having a strategy. What's going to help me deal with the situation that's presented to me?
So, as you speak about strategy, it's reminding me about planning. Does strategy include planning? Does it also include discipline and consistency? Do you want to speak to those three for a moment?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people say that, I need a lot of motivation. But motivation, I said the other day that motivation starts you on the journey, but strategy is what keeps you on the journey, and to the end of the journey. And so you can have part of the strategy must be discipline, because you have to be consistent and you have to do it even when you don't feel like doing it. That is part of the strategy. Consistency is very important. And that if you set up that I need to do this 3 times a week, then even if I don't feel, the discipline comes in, and that adds to the consistency. I need to do this 3 times a week. I've lost all this weight, but one thing that I've started to do is to build strength. And that means me going on my exercise bike every other day. That's the absolute minimum. If I go on every day, that's brilliant. But every other day is a non-negotiable. That's what I have to learn. And that's what I have to do if I want to receive the results that I'm looking for. It is in everything. Even if I want to make money, it's the same thing. But people want to do the same old things and get different results. It's madness.
I love that. I love that. Discipline is such an important, element when it comes to succeeding in whatever strategy you have in place, in whatever project you have in place. And I just love, everything you have to say. But I want you to take us even further back into your story, because for me, a lot of the time, one of the things that motivate me today and almost every day as a leader is a story of when I was about 8 years old, and my mother gave me a bicycle with the front wheel was little and the back wheel was bigger. And this is a bicycle that was designed for carrying a lot of things to transport. In my case, I was transporting milk and bread in our neighborhood and distributing it before school every day. And so that discipline and the exposure to entrepreneurship at a young age is what gives me the stamina to continue doing the work today. And so I wanted you to take us back, even whether it was a time when you were 8, 12, 15, and what is it that happened that really keeps you so motivated? I feel that, Elaine, you're one of the most driven people I know, actually. You are always grinding, always not just doing it for yourself, but you're always encouraging other people to also push themselves, And, I remember how you began the Good Morning Africa movement, and how you brought our entire community globally together weekly. So share with us where this energy comes from.
I don't even know. If I'm really honest with you, Simon, I don't even know. I think it's something that over a period of time I've evolved, and that it's not just about me. I've had to learn to energize my children, and I think that's where I probably started. I think even going back to when I was younger, just having matriarchs in my family, my grandmother and my mother, who would always cheer us on. And so it was just normal. And so it's something that's ingrained in me to always celebrate others. And so for me, that is one of the things that, and I think that if you look at our community and if you look at the way that Africans operate, sadly to say that there is a lot of competition and not enough collaboration. And in collaborating, it makes us a greater force, because if you look at Africa as a continent, there are how many different countries? 54/55. And then within those countries, there are different dialects that then separate us to cause us to just look after our own. And it's a colonial mindset that doesn't allow us to come together and understand the power of who we are in coming together. And so I think in response to your question is, where does that energy come from? Well, the energy comes from in wanting to break down barriers. I'm a Black woman, single mother, and that screams, you cannot achieve, you cannot do it. So I'm going to prove to you that I can do it. And I'm doing it for all of my nieces, all of my nephews, all my sons, all my daughters, everybody that's coming behind me, because everybody that's gone ahead of me has tried to change systems. And I have made it my goal, my purpose, maybe it's even my calling to do that. And that has come over a period of time. I've been through some things in my life, and I'm just like, really? How is this helping me get to the next level? And we use that experience, and I use that experience to help me push other people forward. If I just celebrate this person, and if I plant a seed in this person, it will grow and it will come back to me. That is the mindset that I have right now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just love that. I love that. I also love what you said about, what you're seeing in the African community where there is more competition than collaboration. And, I truly believe that the work you're doing and who you are is actually going to change that, and even us being here is a demonstration that collaboration is happening, and it's possible, Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing that with us. I do also just want to come back to the work that you do with being a transformational mentor, being an educational strategist, being an impact investor. I want you to just take your time and break down in each of these three areas. What are some of the biggest accomplishments that you want our listeners and our viewers to learn? And also, let's say you are visiting Kenya. I had arrived with you in Kisumu town for an annual retreat that I organized for leaders. And imagine you are in a circle of other leaders from across the world, and they want to learn about these three areas of your life and of your work. What would you tell them that you're most proud of?
Wow, that is a huge question, Simon. And I think I'll start with transformation. For me, we started in terms of transformation. What I always try and do is when I started the little work that I was doing in education, I wanted to transform the lives of children and therefore transforming the lives of families. So even though I was helping schools in the UK and the USA and Canada with their acquisition of clients and students and their retention of African students, I wanted to also throw out that opportunity to students whose parents don't have the financial means, but they've got amazing students. So I set about by speaking to schools, helping them give certain discounts on the fees so that parents could afford it. Some of our children don't pay any fees at all, but the experience that they are gaining from that is what is transforming them. And you can literally see that transformation in the children in the first 3 months of them being in the school, or even 6 weeks. I've had a child that started and has come home after 3 weeks of being in the school, and parents are like, it's like a completely different child. Their mindset, everything has shifted. And by them shifting, the parents who just thought, we'll just pay for one child and not the other two, they are now looking for means to be able to make sure that they can also create the same things for these other children. In the other area of transformation, for women, I started with a small group of women, about 3 or 4 women, and we've grown to 300, where I thought that just by meeting with them on Zoom every day, not every day, every Monday it was, to give them a circle. So I run the sister circle, giving them a circle for them to talk about what they were going through. And it started during lockdown because I felt like there was no support for women. And seeing the journeys of women throughout that time was that there were women that came with an idea and now they have left their jobs because they are making income from the ideas that were initially implemented in the group, which my support and their belief in themselves has taken them to another level. The third pillar of transformation is myself. Last year was a horrible year for me. You know, at the beginning of the year, I lost my cousin. Then in June, I lost my grandmother. Then in July, I lost my mother. Then in September, I lost my grandfather. In September, I lost another cousin. And it was just a time for me to just sit down and realize, what is it that I'm trying to do here? I was making a lot of money. I was affecting lives, but I wasn't completely whole and I wasn't completely happy. So I had to take hold of my health. And in taking hold of my health, I transformed who I was. I always say that you can't change the fruits of a tree. You can't change the top of a tree, but you can change its DNA and its roots. That's how you can get different fruits. And so when I started doing that and I started looking at my health, the weight loss journey was just what's the word I'm looking for? It was just it was just a result of all the other things that I was doing. So my journey wasn't to lose weight. My journey was to be healthy. And so with those three areas of transformation, that is where I'm like, well, I can speak to so many women on so many levels. I can speak to parents on different levels, and I can speak to business people on different levels who want to transform not just their income, but just transform the ethics of their company and the culture of their company. And the other thing that you asked me on was transformation. What was the second thing? Sorry, Simon.
So I asked, the first thing was about transformation. The second thing was about educational strategist. I think you spoke a bit about it, but I want you to, speak a little more about it if you want. But the other one that I'm most interested in is your work as an impact investor.
Okay, with the educational strategies, I think I did speak about it in terms of transformation. And I always ask parents that come to me and they need help with their children is, what is the end results that you are looking for? What are you trying to achieve? And the education is just a vehicle to get us there. And because of the way we've been taught as parents, we see education that you can either be a doctor, a lawyer, engineer. Like there's only a couple of routes you can go through, which is actually a lie. And actually, every child comes to this earth with a gift. And our role and our job as parents is to nurture that gift. And very often we lose sight of that. So, as African parents, when our child comes to us and say, I want to be a singer, we're just like, what are you talking about? You're going to be a doctor. Actually, the Bible also tells us that where your heart is, there your treasure is. So actually that gift will make room for them and then create the income streams that they need. It could be just the beginning, the access to all the other income streams. And our job is to nurture that. So that's what I'm talking about in terms of educational strategy and using the education system to get what you need. Impact investment was something that I started when I started on Clubhouse. I think when I first met you, Simon, and I realized that there were a lot of African startups that needed money, but they lacked so much of the infrastructure, even how to put a pitch deck together, even how to command the room and say, this is what I need the money for, and this is how it's going to be broken. I was just on the phone before I spoke to you with somebody who said, can you invest in my agri business? And I said, okay, give me a pitch deck. They were like, well, I'll give you that after you give me the money. And I said, it doesn't work like that. And these are some of the nuances. And so impact investment, I invest in ethical, sustainable businesses. So businesses that are creating an impact in their community. But then also, when we scale this idea up, how is it going to affect us globally? That's what I look at, because, you can come up with a product which is brilliant, but it can only serve maybe a part of the community. But if you come up with an idea that is solving maybe healthcare, that is solving clean water issues, sanitation issues, then that's something that I'm really about, because it's all about change. Impact is all about change. And I love that. So yeah, that's how I've started. And yeah, we're looking into quite a few things. And the thing is, it's not just for everybody outside. Even myself, I'm looking at how to improve education through an edtech platform, using gaming, because there are some children who just don't like learning. And it's not that they're rubbish at learning. They're probably really intelligent. But the challenge is, how do we make learning not such a chore? And how do we make learning, because we just need to get the information in there and the systems and the ideas of how to churn out other information. Boys love gaming, girls love gaming. It's a no-brainer, really. So I am speaking to investors about that as well.
I love that. Yeah, I need to come and maybe buy you a cup of tea sometime and just learn more about impact investments. And also, really, there are certain projects that I'm a part of that I want to pick your brain about. But something you said that stood out for me, and also reminded me of, I was in a Zoom meeting yesterday with a brilliant, probably one of the most brilliant Africans I've met recently. Is someone who is an architect, but the same tools he has been using to design buildings in Los Angeles are also the same tools that are now being used for the metaverse, So he's been deep in the metaverse for years, and I think he's just realizing where he's positioned with where the world is going, And, any question, any idea I gave him that, look, can we make this an NFT? He was just like, yes, this is how we could do it. And then he began talking about how, according to the Kenyan education system, he was one of the worst students, And the education system makes people who are very talented look very foolish. And I felt so bad for him, because here I was, as a grown-up man, so brilliant, but when he thinks of the education system that he went through, it was completely a dehumanizing experience. In Kenya, even if you went to a school where there were girls in the same school, you could not even please a girl, because they knew how terrible you are in math, because everybody would be paraded in front of everybody, and everybody would know that you are so terrible, your performance is horrible. Everything is public, your performance is displayed for everybody to see in public. And so it was just a shame that such a brilliant person had to go through so much and come to another country where his gifts were now being appreciated, and I just appreciate the work you're doing with, the families and the kids that are benefiting from, your brilliance. And I do want to come back to the Clubhouse room and just welcome everybody who is joining us for this amazing conversation with the incredible Elaine C Walker, who is a wonderful, transformation mentor, an educational strategist, and also an impact investor based in the UK. And we've been talking about, her thoughts on today's proverb from Nigeria that says, strategy is better than strength. We've also talked about a story from her childhood that inspires who she is now as a leader. And then we just wrapped up talking about some of her accomplishments when it comes to, mentoring people, her educational work, and also the work she's doing as an impact investor. So, Elaine, I want you to stay with us for a moment. I want to just listen in to some of our guests so that we hear, some of the nuggets they have to share with us. And then I want you to come back and, share your remarks and also how people can support your work and stay connected with you. So I see that Roland is here with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Just briefly share with us, what is it that comes to your mind when you see this Nigerian proverb, strategy is better than strength? And share any comment on today's conversation with Elaine, my wonderful guest. Roland?
Thank you, Simon, and good morning to everybody. Elaine, Lavina, Dr. Julie, Cami, those are people I've met, Damidare. And then the others also in the room that I haven't met, Geba, Dr. Nodey, Johnny, M. Dayton, and everybody in the audience. So I guess the question you asked me is interesting. Depends how you define strength and how you define strategy. Strength is basically what I would describe as something that is there or not there. You imagine a building. A building is strong because it has strong foundations. When the foundations are weak, it's more likely that the building will crumble. Whereas strategy are the choices that you make in how you're going to build the building. Hope that helps.
Yes, it does. It does. Thank you again for
And
being here with us.
and just to quickly add, when you make a choice, every choice you make has an opportunity and a risk. It is such that human nature tends to focus more on the opportunity than on the risk. Here's an example. I am looking out of my window. The sun is shining, but I can see some dark clouds. I have to go out. Do I make the choice to carry an umbrella or not? That will depend on variables such as how long am I going to be out, where am I going, and when is it likely to rain. So understand the opportunity, understand the risk, but also build out your strategy, because the strategy is not just a plan on paper. It has to be a living and breathing part of yourself, your organization, etc. Hope that helps. Over and out. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Roland. I just love your nuggets of wisdom. Let's quickly hear from Lavina. And then I want to turn off hand raising in about a minute. So if you want to contribute to this conversation, this is a good time for you to join us. We will be going on PTR order, so everybody who is on stage is going to have a chance to speak briefly, and then Elaine is going to bring everything together as we wrap up. So in about a minute, I'm going to turn off hand raising. Lavina, share with us your perspectives on today's proverb. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Simon, Elaine, Ronald, and a few other familiar faces, including Cami. Yeah, I think this is a great topic, and especially one that talks to the African continent. For me, when I have a look at it, strategy as a whole, when I have to dissect the word alone, what does it encompass? For me, things that come to mind is integrity and encompassment of your moral values, and that will always outweigh some form of intelligence, right? So no matter how street smart we are, no matter how academic we are, those things for me kind of just, ring true back to the proverb itself. Where strategy is better than strength. And I particularly love it because the African continent is rather well known for its resilience. And that resilience is something that we all find ourselves dancing to in the continent. So, yeah, great question. Thank you so much. I hope that was useful.
It was. Thank you again for all the amazing work you do on this platform. M. Dayton, thank you for being here. Share with us your thoughts on today's proverb or any comments to Elaine. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Simon. Hey, Elaine. What came immediately to mind was a scene from the Marvel film Captain America when the frail Steve Rogers came upon a flagpole that he had to climb up to get a flag. All the other recruits were clamoring to climb upon each other using strength to get to the top, and Steve Rogers assessed the situation, pulled the pin from the flagpole, pole dropped, and he was able to grab the flag. We're in this time of people often using sledgehammers instead of scalpels to solve a situation. And what the quote says to me is oftentimes is that stopping and evaluating a situation to see if there's a strategy that can be used rather than strength. So great quote. Thanks for having me, and I'm done.
Excellent. Thank you again for your continued support. Dr. Julie, how are you? And what comes to your mind when you hear this proverb?
Thank you, Simon. And hi, Elaine. Hi, Roland. Hi, everyone else. Yeah, I think I would kind of follow on from what everyone else has said about it. You know, strength, brute force. I mean, I come from Scotland, right? So I come from Glasgow. I come from a culture where strength is part of it. If you've ever seen Braveheart, you'll know, and I'm sure many of you have in the audience. But at the same time, you know, work smarter, not harder. And I think for me, that's what comes to mind when I see the strategy is better than strength. I think finding ways round, you know, sometimes we can't always go over an obstacle. Sometimes we have to find ways round, find ways through, find ways under, and sometimes we go over. So I think for me, this quote is very poignant, and Elaine mentioned it in the context of education and being an educator. I think it's critically important, right? You know, we educate kids in a certain way, but actually what we should be doing is looking at how to play to their strength strategy, right? But in terms of not their physical strengths, but in terms of the character traits, the things that they enjoy to do, and help them develop strategies around their strengths. So I think there's definitely a discussion to be had whereby both of them come into play together within the education sphere and context. But for me, yeah, always work smarter, not harder.
Excellent. Yeah, work smarter, not harder. I love that. I think they could definitely work together once you understand how to invest more of your strength onto your strategy. I think it could be a good strategy.
Well, you know,
Anyway,
it reminds me of what I'm not sure Dayton. I'm not sure what your Maurice. Sorry, it's just like what Maurice said in that wonderful example of the Marvel movies, right? You know, Captain America knows he had strength. He knows deep down he's got that strength, but what he needs to do is find an alternate way of doing things, just like we all do in business. Just like regardless of where we're from, we sometimes have to use those strategy brains to think about an alternative way if we want to get somewhere. What steps do we take to get there? And essentially, those steps are the strategy we take.
that's right. Thank you again so much. If you're just joining us, this is the Daily African Proverbs. We are live streaming on YouTube. If you want to join us on YouTube, the link is at the top of the Clubhouse room. Elaine and I are live and direct there. So if you want to see our faces, that's a perfect way to connect with us right now. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's a big way to support the work that I do with the Daily African Proverbs. And also push the thumbs up button so that YouTube notifies you whenever we do this, which is Monday to Friday. Now, if you're on Clubhouse, remember to follow the African Father in America Club. African Father in America is also the name of my podcast, which you can catch on all podcasting platforms. And an hour after today's conversation, this episode will also be available on Apple Podcast and all other platforms. So stay tuned. But now we want to go to Jiba, who is an author, a Liberian brother, who has also been my guest in the past. Jiba, what are your thoughts about today's proverb, and do you have any comment for Elaine?
Hey, Brother Simon, good morning again. Good morning to everyone. Says Elaine, good morning. Thanks for the amazing work you do. And I really like your, response to the proverb where you indicated, if I quote you correctly, strategy help you can have a plan, but having a strategy help you to navigate, your plan. And there's also a saying in Liberia that we often say, so the man who uses his hand, his body does not suffer. So even though this is a Nigerian, proverb that we are discussing, but I would say it's emblematic of African as a whole, or the West African community, to they understand that strategy is part of part of the human existence in order to be successful at everything you do. So yeah, for Liberia, that's what we refer to, to this particular proverb. But in everything that I do, I know I have to have a plan, but I also need a strategy to be able to implement that plan, because the strategy helped me to guide myself. It's like a roadmap. It tells me where am I, am I succeeding at the plan? Am I failing? Am I making any progress? And then every now and then I go in there and read, reposition my strategy if things are not working. Like in writing, I would sit and write until I can't remember anything again, until nothing can come out. Then I walk away. And then I might be doing something else. And then a whole flash of light just come to me, about something new. And I quickly run and write that down. But for everybody, it's different. But yeah, so for me, strategy is very important in our life, and it's the roadmap that guides our plan. So I'm Jiba, and I'm done speaking.
Thank you, Jiba. I love that. I love what you have to share. I see that Johnny is on a call. So we will go to Damile.
Here, bro.
Oh, you're here. Okay, bro. Share with us your perspectives on this proverb from Nigeria, and also share with us, any thoughts that you have for this conversation so far. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Simon, and peace to everybody in the room. When I think of the proverb today, strategy is better than strength. It's it comes at a very, very personal time for me. This is a Black Heritage Month, and when I look around, I get upset. And the reason why I get upset is because what happens when strategy meets strength? I think of revolution. And the reason why I say that is because my profile picture has the hashtag Amir Locke on it. Amir Locke was my cousin. Amir Locke was killed by Minnesota police in a no-knock warrant. Amir Locke is the third individual killed this year, and it was a person killed 2 days before him in Las Vegas. And I say that to say this country has a history of blaming the victims for their oppression and their suppression and their repression. My cousin was tried in the court of public opinion by the media. And when I made my post yesterday, it was before the body cam footage was released. And I said that my cousin's name would be exonerated, or his innocence would be prevailed. And I think it's just one of them situations where we got to look in the mirror and keep asking ourselves, how much longer can we keep dealing with the atrocities of being treated as second-class citizens? My cousin didn't have a criminal record. He came from a family of people who were in law enforcement, and he would sleep on the couch of a relative that he was not on the name of that search warrant for. They went in 2 or 3 different apartments because they had a key fob to allow them access. I just want to be able to sit and demand justice. I want to sit and to be able to feel like when it comes to our pain, our struggles, the things that we have going on, that we have the ability to receive justice, not it just to be just us. Minnesota had put into legislation laws to limit them doing no-knock warrants because of the dangers that it poses, not only to the people that they're going into their houses unannounced, but to the officers that they say that they care and love about. Breonna Taylor was killed in the same manner, and a young man was killed in the same manner in Las Vegas. And so I just want to bring awareness to what's going on because I'm on my way out to Minnesota. And that was my cousin who had called me. And sometimes it's definitely all kind of different things, and I don't even like doing this, but financially I'm having a little trouble right now. If anybody could just send anything, $10, we gonna make a way. And I got people who gonna let me stay with them when I reach out there, but I'd just rather be comfortable if I'm gonna have to be out there for a couple days. But it's on us. It's on us to be the change that we want to see. And I'm gonna land my plane there. But thank you, Brother Simon.
Thank you, Johnny. I saw the video, you sent me the video and I watched it, and it's exhausting. And I know that you're exhausted because you have dealt with this, enough, and we deal with it that we just become numb. We don't want to deal with this anymore. So thank you again for your courage, for just sharing with us here in a very genuine way. And I encourage everyone who is in the room who can support Johnny so that he gets to Minnesota to feel free to connect with him directly. I know Johnny very well, actually. He's a gifted artist, he's a poet, he's a wordsmith, he's also one of the people that contributed to this Daily African Proverbs room being what it is today. He's been involved from the very, very first time when we started producing the Daily African Proverbs. So I really, really, pray that you continue having the strength and stay safe and just know that, everything is going to be fine. Everything is going to be fine at the end of it all. So thank you. Let's go to Demilare. Demilare, how are you doing? And do you have any thoughts about today's proverb from Nigeria? The proverb says, strategy is better than strength. Thank you very much.
Much appreciated, much appreciated. And I was just listening to John, and I don't know how I can just add the way that I was going to add prior, but I'll give it my best shot. Thank you for this room, and I think this is the first time I'm seeing some faces on stage. So yeah, pleasure to meet you guys. My name's Damilare, and yeah, I'm also from Nigeria, which is great for this. I've been in some tech newsrooms as well, but when I heard this proverb, the first thing that I thought was about art of war and attack by stratagem, right? And that is just in and around itself, understanding the ways that you can be powerful within strategy. And it shows today and throughout history that great strategy has much triumphed over any sort of abnormal strength, right? And that is pretty much what the hero's journey is in folklore, in European and white history folklore. And the story of some great battles that have gone up forward throughout history, right? And in the art of war it says break resistance without fighting, and conquering all battles isn't supreme excellence, which means you shouldn't be fighting every single little fight. It's about the bigger goal at hand and all of those things. And a sort of notion to that, or should I say a little case study of that, would be Napoleon tried to invade Russia in the French-Russian advancement and lost due to the way that he implemented strategy. And even today, Russia is trying to, or I don't know whether anyone's up on the news, but there is the Russian-Ukraine advancement because of all of this NATO and EU sort of things happening, and the way of Europe and how power plays are made and all of those things. I won't get too much into it, but geopoliticians and intellectuals know that if Russia tries to invade Ukraine with, military might and actually just tries to take it over, it would be bad for Russia in general. But to take it to more contemporary understanding, it, like I would say, as a CEO and like consultant, when I talk about project management and just knowing the scope, laying plans, strategy, that all comes before actually implementing things, right? And having all of these things at hand allows you to move forward better within your business. And the iron triangle as a CEO, obviously time, cost, and scope. And all of these things gives you strength. It gives your strength true power, I should say. And to put an even more contemporary reference, which is Buster Douglas versus Mike Tyson, which is basically in the first round, Mike is great. He's good in the second, and he's all right in the third. And what you really have to do is wait Mike Tyson out through to the end of all of the rounds, and then you can get him in the later rounds rather than trying to get him up first and having a slugfest. So those are the types of thoughts that came to mind when I first heard about this. But thank you. Yeah, have a good day.
Oh, you're most welcome. I love that. I love the your thoughts about Mike Tyson and Buster Douglas. It reminded me of Muhammad Ali. You can't use the same strategy on you could not use the same strategy on Muhammad Ali that you use on Tyson. You have to change your strategy accordingly depending on the situation that you are being faced with. But as you are sharing, I also just continued thinking about what Johnny shared with us. And Johnny, I want you to actually share with us, how can someone here in the room that wants to support you so that you get to your destination, what can they do immediately to support? Before we get to Kami, I just want to give you space.
Thank you again, Brother Simon, and thank you for the people who have reached out and have sent some money to me. That was my cousin calling again. He had just got off the phone with Amir's mother, and she was giving us the go ahead and do the social media promotions. I kind of went, sometimes we have to adhere to the spirit, and I went against the wishes of my cousin, and I put out what I felt in my spirit to put out. And the reason why I put it out is because there's a point in time where you have to transcend the moment of pain and grief that you in and recognize the historical context of what's going on. And I say that with the preface of thinking of somebody like Mamie Till, like the strength of Mamie Till to understand in the moment that the world needed to see what they did to her son. That's the same way that my cousin feels about what happened to her son. She wants the world to know what happened to her son. And so the ways that anybody could support immediately is just sending out healing vibrations and allowing space, for his mother to have grief, because in these times, it's like our grief get pushed to the backbone and we automatically forced to stand on strength. And there's a lot of strength and vulnerability. And so anybody who could just pray for strength, for that type of clarity for his mother, that'll be greatly, greatly appreciated. Outside of that, if you look at Cash App, if you look at my Cash App, it's Johnny No Good. It's at the bottom of my bio. You can Cash App me, you can Venmo me. You could send something through Clubhouse, but that's going to take a couple days, like a week or so to get here. But if you could just send anything through Cash App or Venmo, that'd be greatly appreciated. If you could go on my profile page and share that post that says Amir Locke, if you could do that, that'd be greatly appreciated. As far as the accountability aspects of calling anybody, the lawyers got everything handled. My cousin got Benjamin Crump, and she got another lawyer, I think Matt Storm or Mike, I can't remember his name. But as far as like on the legal aspects, it's just about sending out support and bringing awareness to what's going on. The media is trying to bury the case. The media is trying to control the narrative. Even before my cousin, before his identity was announced, they attempted to kind of diminish it. So I just want us to get to a point where we're not getting tried, convicted, and charged all in the same setting. But thank you, Brother Simon.
Can I just say something, Craig?
Yes, Elaine, go ahead, please.
I think in a case like this, when someone has lost somebody so close. The worst thing a parent has to do is bury their child. I think that it's not just strength that we need to pray for, it's grace. Grace carries us through where strength cannot. And I remember when I lost my mother, my grandmother, in a space of 5 weeks, everybody was like, be strong. Well, you don't have to be strong. What you need is grace, because you need the ability to still function, because this is a case. And as a mother, you still need to function, but you need to also grieve. And that's God's grace that only God can give you on how to navigate the system and what's going on. And I think that if you put out on your social media, maybe not necessarily on your social media, if you tell us the name of your aunt, those of us who can pray or who do pray to God, to a higher being, will send that send that to our God, so that that goes through to your aunt, because grace is what she really does. Because grief never really leaves us, but we learn to grow with the grief. So grace definitely is what she needs to be able to get, because we can pray for strength, but if she hasn't got the same mind, she's not able to function. But grace, the grace of God, is what will definitely help her through the crisis.
Thank you for that, Elaine. Her name is Karen Locke. They'll be doing a press conference here at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, 11 Eastern Standard Time. And they'll be doing that. Also, if y'all could send out prayers for his father. His father's name is Buddy. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. Dr. Node is off. We will come to you now. Share with us your perspectives on today's proverb and any comments on my conversation with Elaine so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. I'm gonna be quick because I have another meeting to get to. But definitely, when you talk of strategy, I've been speaking strategy from day one. And I've been a strategist since I've been a child. Um, I've been, anyone that knows me knows my history, knows that the background I came from, and the trauma and the violence and everything that I've witnessed growing up. And even though I've always received the accolade that I'm a strong person, it was more than about strength. It was about strategy. You have to be smarter. Um, and it goes to that old saying, instead of working harder, you got to learn to work smarter. You can be a hard worker and work hard, but at the same time, you have to be smarter. You have to be smart. And I teach that, and I consult with that on a consistent basis. As a Black man that came from violence and ghetto and everything that people are going through, been there, done that, and still suffering from that as a man, in his own lifestyle, and grown out of that, and was able to pull himself from the ashes. It's all about strategy. Strategy is strength. Strategy is stronger than strength, and you have to be a strategist. One of the things, and not to take away from anything that's going on, this month. This is Black History Month, right? It's something that the nation, quote unquote, in America celebrates. Well, I don't believe in Black History Month. And I'm gonna tell you why I don't believe in Black History Month as a strategist. Because I'm Black. I've been Black since the day I was born, right? Black History Month is every day to me. Every day that I'm living. It's not only it's about my ancestors, but at the same time, it's about me, promoting what my ancestors has died for me, and being able to put myself in a position to where I can elevate, and like we learned last year on this, advance the ball, you know, um, and so as a Black person, Black History Month is every month to me. It's been every month to me for the last 49 plus years. I raised my children to be the same way, to understand that Black History Month is every month for the rest of for all the days that you have lived, and all the days that you're going to live. Right? Don't just settle for what a nation or a government or the world wants you to settle for just 1 month, and let's just promote 1 month. See, that's showing strength. Strategy
is if we do that on a consistent basis. We change the way, right? And one of the things people always say is, that they want change, they want change. Well, change has to start from within. Change has to start from the very minute level. That is the only way change. And the moment we change how we are to one another, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're Asian, whether you're Scottish, whether you're English, doesn't matter. When we change how we are to one another, and let me go back to the black race. Once we change how we treat each other, once we change how we talk to one another, trust me, that's the strongest strategy that you can ever, ever, ever create. The rest of the world will fall in place. But when we go head to head with the rest of the world, that's strength. We're going to get tired. You're going to get tired. See, strategy doesn't see weakness, because strategy builds on strength. And and I yield my mic.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nodezoff. I'm grateful for your contribution today. Let's hear from Fred and then go back to my wonderful guest, my wonderful sister, Elaine C. Cunningham. Fred, how are you and what's your perspective on today's proverb?
Thank you for asking. I'm pretty good. So, I'm not Christian, but I grew up in the church, and I had a friend of mine. This is a couple of years ago. She called me crying. Oh, these problems and problems and these problems, and I don't know what to do. And I said, you can't even understand your own Bible. What's wrong with you? And I put up one of the stories, David versus Goliath. And I said, growing up, there was a picture that we all saw. It was the same picture in the Bible, a painted picture. And David defeated Goliath with a slingshot. So I had to break that down to her. Goliath is strength, David is strategy. And I said, if you were Goliath, you the most powerful person in the world, this and that, you see this little person with a slingshot, are you going to give that person time to put up a slingshot, wound it up, and hit you in the head? She said, no. I said, so if you look at the picture, David was not facing Goliath head on. Goliath did not see David coming. He strategized. He hit him at an angle where he blinded him. When it comes to strength, it's a force, and you cannot apply force to everything. You can't take everything head on. You have to operate in a mode where they can't see you coming. That's the power of the civil rights movement. That's the power of every movement that comes. You can't take everything head on. The strategy you got different options, you make moves, and anything that has strength also has a weakness. In strategy, you got that insight to find that weakness and bring that thing down. Like the phrases of the bull in the china shop, to the aspect of what's the best way to eat an elephant, bite at a time, or what have you. You can't take everything on. That's what people with strength does. With strategy, you can destroy many of things by small, planned out movements. Period. Yield the mic.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Fred. Elaine, we are now back at you, my wonderful sister. You've heard from so many, of our friends and comrades. I want you to just share in summary what you heard, and then also share with us how can everyone who is here support the work that you're doing and stay connected with you.
Wow, you know what? The last person that spoke literally took the words out of my mouth, because I was going to use the analogy of David and Goliath. Because sometimes we have something in front of us that is so huge and we can't take on everything. And strategy tells us how to break things down and to be able to dismantle the big things that we have in front of us. And some might say the movement that I've taken on to help Africa in my own little way, in my own little niche, as they say, is going to take a lot of strategy, and it's going to take a lot of collaborations. And my heart goes out to the young man who's lost his cousin. And to defeat all of the narratives that are being set out there is going to take strategy. Your voice is not louder than the media's voice, but we need to understand what we put out there to make sure that we diminish that and we put the true story out there. And so I think that I've loved all of the shares and they've all been very much on point. But I think that what we also have to realize is that as a community, we are never going to win the battle or the war from strength, because there's always strength in numbers, but there's actually more strength in our strategy. And a lot of times our strategy is not, we might have the strategy, but the implementation of the strategy is the problem. And so we have to make sure we do two things to overcome strength, which is have the strategy and implement the strategy correctly. And I think if anybody wants to follow me, they can follow me here on Clubhouse. You can follow me on Instagram, which is at Elaine C Walker. You can follow me on LinkedIn, Elaine Cunningham Walker. And yes, I mean, reach out to me, send me a DM, let's have a conversation. And I said at the very beginning that I'm open to partnerships and collaborations in order to get this movement through. I think it's so important. Obviously, not all collaborations are the right collaborations and not all partnerships are the right partnerships. But I think where there is synergy, I think we can definitely make it work and the right networks. So I hope that's been enough, and I hope that's served this community. I love all the work that you do, Simon. And one day, yes, I will be coming to Kenya. You never know, this year.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. You have no idea how much this time with you means to me. I'm grateful, and I'm also grateful to our audience members on Clubhouse, on YouTube. Thank you so much. And I'll be coming back Monday to Friday next week with the daily African proverbs. But there are a couple of things I'm doing tomorrow that I want you to pay attention to. Number one is tomorrow at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, the same time that I normally do the daily African proverbs, I will be interviewing Professor Hagos. He's a very well-established cancer research doctor here in the US, but he's from Tigray. He's from the Tigray region, and so I will be talking to him about what's going on in Ethiopia and how it has impacted him personally. So that's a special interview tomorrow at 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Then at 9 a.m. tomorrow, we have the Africa Day weekly series on Clubhouse. So you should join us for that as well. And then, I'll just urge you to take good care of yourselves. Like Elaine was suggesting to us earlier, the discipline and also implementing your strategy in the correct way is very, very important. So with that, thank you all. Have a beautiful day. And if you're on YouTube, remember to subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much again, Elaine. Take care of yourself.
African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle,